Hi, everybody. Angelo Batio here. I am on the road getting ready to go on tour. We've been finishing up rehearsals, and I am wanting to talk about tour life and also answer your questions. So if you have any questions, I am here to answer them. But hey, Denny, how are you? So just waiting for everybody to go online. I'm pretty much on time, so it's very rare that I am late for these. More if I am late, it's more than a minute. But I like if it starts at 4 o'clock California time, that's what time I start. I have had a wonderful, wonderful career. This has been a great year. Hey, Roxana, how are you? I am, like I said in the very beginning, hey, Steve, I've been rehearsing with Manowar, hey, Nick, and we are getting ready to go on tour, the first leg of a lot of shows coming up. It'll be Central and South America to start with, ending in New York City. The show is sold out. And then it's the holiday season. But after that, I go to California, and that's what I want to talk about with this live stream. Hey, John Peter, how are you? Hi, Jenny, how are you? Nabrak, I hope I say that right. But anyway, hey, Todd, I have a different regimen when I rehearse for a tour, say, versus recording. I have all different, are you live or Memorex? Live, baby. And yeah, thanks, Carlos. Yeah, I always appreciate it. He said, I love your music, and I have a lot of music out there. And I want to talk about that after this first leg of the tour, I'm going to be off only a couple days, and then I go to California, and I'm with the guys from Sawtooth, and we have a band where the drummer of the band is one of the main owners of Sawtooth, and Joe Fuco, who's a fantastic person, brilliant businessman, and a great drummer. And so, and then Nils Lawrence, who not only has some of the greatest hair in rock and roll, but he plays bass great, and he's got a voice like a bird. He sings. He is a really great singer. And so he sings the lead. Somebody said no sound, no video. Can everybody hear me? Can somebody write a yes or no? Can you hear me out there? Yes, no? Okay, Lester, no sound, no video. I don't know, man. I think you need to check your own system here. Yeah, you can hear me. Everybody else can hear me. So it's a really simple setup. I'm using, Facebook likes it when you just use your phone directly. So yeah, everybody's saying they can hear me. Good. But anyway, on December 4th, I'll be back in California. Thanks, Jenny. And I will be, we're going to be debuting a bunch of new guitar models, some MAB signature models, and I'm going to be doing a lot of live streams there. But I was talking about, hey, Matthew, good day. And I was talking about the Michelangelo Band, which is comprised of Nils Lawrence and Joe Fuco. We will be playing a really awesome club called the Three Clubs in Hollywood. If you know anything about Hollywood or that area of LA, you've got Hollywood Boulevard, then Sunset Boulevard, then Santa Monica. Those are the big three that run east and west. And this club is on Santa Monica and Vine. You know how everybody said Hollywood and Vine, but this is Santa Monica and Vine. And we have a special guest, Jeff Schroeder, again, who played guitar for many years with Smashing Pumpkins. He's a really close friend, great player. And, it's kind of the tradition when I play Hollywood with the band. We get him on guitar for a guest song. But anyway, this is Friday, the 13th of December at the Three Clubs, and you can get your tickets. There's a link here on my page. If you're on Instagram, I posted it in the stories. Let's see. Somebody wrote, I got enough guitars. I want to hear some new Manowar. Yeah, you will. We've recorded a lot of music. That's up to the Manowar camp to, their publicity team to release all that information. I release it when they do. Somebody wrote, Matthew, that's a great cover of Man in the Box. Thank you. We worked, I'll give credit to Joe on this too. He records the drums live. There are no edits, no anything, and that's for real. Because if you say you do something live in the studio, nobody believes you anyway. But I've had a long career. You've heard my guitar playing for a long time. Because the immortals live forever! But in all fairness, and in all, in compliments, Joe he killed it on Man in the Box. We don't use a click. We don't do anything. We play live. And then what we did was then Nils did his parts at his studio. I did the rest of the parts at my studio. And, I just think it turned out fantastic. But it starts with the drums. If the drums don't sound right, that's the foundation. If you think of a house, that's the lower level. Like, for example, I live in the Midwest outside of Chicago, so we have a basement, and it's a cement foundation that you build the home of. Well, the drums are the foundation, and then, Denny wrote there are never enough guitars. He is exactly right. You can never have enough guitars. But getting back to this, the drums are the foundation. Everything can get built up. When I do my own solo albums, I like to do the rhythm guitars first and have the bass play to me. With the Angelo Batio band, because we play guitar, bass, and drums live, but we only concentrate on the drum track, Nils can do his part on his own because we already have the template, and I do my part, and it all comes together. But he is a really great singer, and the version of Man in the Box, I think, in fact, we had the guy master the song. We had Andy Zuckerman mix it. And he did a great job, and he tracked the drums and mixed the song. And we had the mastering engineer is the one who actually did Nirvana and Def Leppard and some of the biggest albums that you've heard in the hair metal, the classic metal, up to through the grunge era and today. And he told us he thought that this version of Man in the Box is the best one he's ever heard since the original. This is the best cover of it he's ever heard. So, and I'm really proud of it. I think Nils sang great. I'm the background singer of the band, and, we do these backgrounds live and when you see us. But if you're out in California, you want to make a special trip even, I highly recommend you come to see us on the 13th. We don't get to do that many shows together, but when we do, we've sold out every show we've ever played, and I don't foresee any difference here, but it's a great band. Jeff Schroeder is a great player, and he fits in perfectly with the song that we do. It's really going to be fun. Okay, somebody said, can you give us some info about the show in New York City? I will do 8-hour road from Canada. The only thing I can tell you, that's the Manowar show. It's been sold out forever. We are bringing the full production to a theater. And that's what I can tell you. What songs we're playing, I can't tell you. But I can tell you this is the bad boy show. This is the full Manowar, take no prisoners, however you want to describe it. This is going to be the ultimate. That's what I can tell you. It's really big time. And so let's see. Anybody else have questions about? Well, I can talk a little bit about tour life. Like, I'm in my hotel room now. You can basically see the ceiling. It's kind of a greenish motif. Plus, it's dark outside. I'm on the East Coast. So, but, they have a nice gym here. What I like to do when I'm working on songs is I really like to work on the solos of the songs. I practice the music that I'm going to play. And I always do the warm-up that you saw me do about, a month ago, maybe 6 weeks. I spent basically the whole live stream showing how I warm up. I still warm up like that to this day. And let me tell you guys something. when I talk about warm-ups and what I do, I think you know that I am not only just telling you the truth. I use what I say I'm going to use. I mean, here's my hands, okay? No thumb problems, no wrist problems, no finger problems, no nothing. No nothing. I can make a strong fist. If a person can't make a fist, they lose hand strength. And I found that to stay immortal, what you have to do is keep your body conditioned. You need leg strength. You also need arm strength, because what happens if you don't play hard, you don't play aggressively, and you don't work out your fingers and practice methodically, you're going to lose it. And what you don't use, you lose. Somebody wrote, what kind of pick do you use? I prefer the teardrop jazz shaped. I have a signature pick through ChromaCast. It's made out of Delrin. Some people call it Tortex. It's pretty amazing. It's a little over 1 millimeter. I think it's 1.2 millimeters, but it's got a nice sharp point. Teardrop shaped jazz style, but I like the Delrin because it gets a little brighter sound for rock and metal. Hey, Roxana, and Holland Auto Spell. Speaking of Holland, okay, the band I was in, Holland, that album just refuses to die. I was on Atlantic Records, and it was my first major label. I was on Shrapnel Records first. That was my first real record deal with Mike Varney, and I'm grateful to him for the rest of my life. Not only did Mike Varney discover me, he discovered Marty Friedman, Greg Howe, John Five, Yngwie Malmsteen, Paul Gilbert. The list goes on and on and on of players who are still relevant, viable. Vinnie Moore. Tony McAlpine. I can go on and on. Mike was the one who discovered all of us. And it just shows, I always felt with Shrapnel that I was in like the special forces, the elite military with them, because he only chose the best of the best. And I was very honored to be on that label. But anyway, the second major record deal I had, and these are two of them when I was in my 20s. I was just approaching my later 20s with Holland. And we got signed to Atlantic. Tom Werman, the big-time producer that produced Dokken and Twisted Sister and Motley Crue's big hits. Every Rose Has Its Thorn, Cheap Trick, Ted Nugent. All these bands Tom Werman produced. He produced our album. We did a great record. We really did. And but I'll just say it, I got completely ripped off. I got under 200. We had a $125,000 record budget. I got under $200 to record that album. Now, granted, that I had living accommodations, but it wasn't called Batio, it was called Holland. And I was a participant in the writing of every song. And our two main songs, I wrote the chorus of Gotta Run and almost all the music to Wake Up the Neighborhood. But anyway, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just telling you, this is the reality. I was young. I wanted it so bad. I wanted to make it so bad. And I wanted to be on MTV. I wanted to tour. I wanted to get my music out there. And I signed away the publishing. I thought I was supposed to get 15%. I got Metallica's attorney and another big, the firm represents a lot of huge bands. I found out I get nothing for this, nothing for these songs. And it was a hard lesson, but I'm still here. I'm not bitter at all. I learned a valuable lesson. Okay. And I learned to be smart quick. But here's where I'm going with all this. It's being re-released in Europe. Again, this is the second reissue of Little Monsters album. I'm really proud of the album. It's a great record and great songs. Tom Holland was a phenomenal singer and writer and showman. But it's going to be released in physical copies. So CD, I know for sure. Vinyl, I'm not sure of, but the record company approached me about helping with lyrics and things. And so I'm really honored again, just the music. Someone asked if I would do another Shred collab with Jared Dines. This year, if Jared asked me, I was on the 3 in a row, and I love Jared. He's a great guy, a great promoter of guitar. I was, honored to be with so many great players. And it was nice because, I've worked on technique and music my whole life, and it's nice to know, in this day and age, 30 years after I released my first instructional video and showed this for the first time, a lot of the things these younger players are doing are inspired by my very first programs. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help other guitarists. And I did. And to answer your question, I am not sure if I will have time to do it. It depends, if Jared asks again, because I have been on 3 in a row, so if he asks again and what his time frame is as far as when he needs it back, because I'm on tour till basically the 17th of December, so it's going to be kind of difficult unless I would go into a studio, or I don't have a studio with me on tour. It's hard enough. Believe it or not, I don't write a ton of music on tour. I write I'm a prolific releaser of records. 14 solo albums, major label records, probably 30 to 40, or maybe 50 songs in the last 4 years, just with the MAB band and through Sawtooth and through other things. I'm a very prolific writer, and I release a lot of music, but we'll just have to see. Okay, somebody asked me what I think of the new Dream Theater song. But I think the new Dream Theater song is killer. I'm a big fan of John Petrucci. He even told me that he studied, my instructional program, my first one, Starlicks, which is available still on Metal Method, the very first shred video ever. I'm not saying I invented these techniques. I showed them for the first time. The A minor arpeggio, the grandfather of all sweeps, was first seen on my video. And so I like the new Dream Theater song. And I think Mike Portnoy is an amazing drummer. I think Mike Mangini is an amazing drummer too. And I've met both of them. I think that it was tactically for Dream Theater to have the original founding member come back in the band is pretty incredible. And he's definitely incredible. So I like the song a lot. 6, 7, or 8 string doesn't make a difference. I love 6 strings and I love 7 strings, and I do not think 7 strings will go away. I like 8-string guitars, but here's my issue with 8 strings. It's not that I don't like the extended range, but it encroaches big time in the bass guitar territory. So it's very difficult to mix an 8-string guitar and get bass guitar loud because you are competing in the same frequency. So 7-string guitars is as low as I go. And also you can have a 5th string on a bass, a low B, so the bass can go lower as well. But I love 6 and 7 strings. I love the 8-string, but I don't find a practical purpose for it in my music. Let's see. What are my foreseeable recording plans? I'm always recording something. And so, I have a lot of music written. I could actually do a new solo album right now. But I like to do these individual songs the way we're doing it with the Angelo Batio band. Man-O-War's recorded a lot of music, so you'll start to see that being released next year too. Joey DeMaio's a genius. I've said it 50,000 times. I'll say it again. That guy's vision. See, it's one thing to have an idea, but it's another thing to have an idea come to fruition. In other words, you make it happen. You make it real. Joey's a master at that. Well, I make my ideas come true. My double guitar, the over-under technique, getting signed. Sawtooth does that. Joey in particular has got his own way of doing things, and it's super successful, and he has a clear vision of what he wants to do. And I don't care what business you are in, if you cannot articulate your vision, you can't make it come to fruition. You can't make it happen. Because if people, it's whether it's your image in music or your image as a business person. What do you want to come across as? And California showed me it's really laid back. You could see a billionaire that looks homeless. You do not know. And so it's not all the time, but it's how people want to portray themselves and what ideas do they have and how do they make them reality. And that's the key. Collaboration with Petrucci should happen. I would love to do a collaboration with John. I think he's amazing. A guitarist, songwriter. And see, he's another one. And he said this in interviews. I think it's his wife that told him, do you notice dream theaters? Always dream theater. They're always heavy. Petrucci likes that heavy sound. He uses 7-string in Dream Theater. He is a classic example of everything I'm talking about. So is Yngwie. So is Steve Vai. I'm that way. You have to know who you are. You have a vision. You articulate that vision. You have ideas, and you make those ideas happen. That's life. Whether it doesn't mean just music or entertainment. But, you can look at anything successful and not every rule, but a lot of the rules apply. And you also have to remember things change. So you can have this vision, you can have a goal, you can have a plan, but remember reality, life gets in the way. I mean, you heard me recently talking, my brother-in-law, who I was super, super close to. We talked virtually every day. And he was a business confidant of mine. I respected him. I liked him. I'd known him since the the later 80s, 87, when my sister and him got married. We never had one argument, ever. And his nephew is probably the most important person. He's my closest relative, and I talk to him all the time. But, he just passed away unexpectedly. So life gets in the way. Now, I'm still sad about it. I don't want to start even obsessing about it. But so plans can change, but the goal doesn't have to change. You stick with the goal. The plan can change. There's nothing wrong with that. But keep the goal. So anyway, any other questions? Can I play a banjo? It's funny you mentioned that there's actually a banjo out there that's tuned like a guitar. I've never really messed with banjo that much. I love the sound of it, but it's not a sound that relates to the music that I play. I can play piano really good. I studied the violin. I'm going to start doing piano videos. I made a concerted effort in the last year I'm a good artist too, to start playing piano again and draw again, because it's not like I have so much time, but my career is in a pretty stable place. I mean, nothing is always stable, but, I know the band I'm in, I know the company I'm with, everything, everybody, I'm dealing with just wonderful people. And I have a small group of friends, Rob Ross, my drummer friend, and, he's a fantastic drummer. He's my best friend. So, but I want to, there's a lot of instruments I like. But I always wanted to be the best I could be on guitar and focus mainly on that. I'm a pretty good singer, but I never considered myself a great singer. I always thought I tried singing lead. I'm pretty good at some songs, but I'm good enough to write songs. That's the key. And I hear the melodies in my head. I can sing some of them I can't. Like Jim Peterick, when I did Eye of the Tiger with the guy who wrote it. Jim couldn't sing Eye of the Tiger in the key that sold the gazillion albums, the actual song everybody knows, but he could sing it down a minor third. And so he wrote it in a range he could sing, and then they upped it to accommodate the singer, Dave, for the actual song. Let's see. Now here's a good question. How does a guy like Lionel Richie get away without knowing theory and composition? I have a degree in theory and composition. Let me tell you this, and I'm a firm believer of this. He's not the only one. There are some people that are just musical. They possess a talent that other people just don't have. And like, I have a talent on guitar. I've been an innovator on guitar. A lot of people copy what other guitar players do. I've always been one that had my own style. Lionel Richie has a voice. He's got see, Paul McCartney is not good with reading either. And there are these people out there. Yngwie Malmsteen knows a little bit about theory, but he's basically pretty self-taught, and he's no theory expert like I am, or a Steve Vai or a Rick Beato. But knowing about music and being a great artist are two entirely different things. There are a lot of great teachers out there that aren't, and I respect teaching almost more than any other profession, to give to other people, to impart your knowledge to them. But I truly believe it's like when you're born with a voice, that you just have this voice, it just flows. Steve Perry, Eric Adams from Manowar. You hear those early Manowar records? Oh my God. A Jim Gillette that could sing anything. And he had all these different voices, and he sang in tune and he could write. But Lionel Richie, not only did he have a great voice, he was a great songwriter. Sometimes when you know a little bit about music, you create your own obstacles because you know a little, but you don't know enough to be an expert. So you start thinking about the rules, like, should it theoretically be correct? But music theory is not about rules that were written to tell you, okay, well, you got to stay in these parameters. Music theory was written in an attempt to explain why certain things sounded good. See, there wasn't really music theory per se when Bach was alive, but his music was so awesome, and music can be numbers. Why do you think it works so well with the computer? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Those are numbers. You can create, those are pitches. You can create volumes with numbers. And so it was an attempt to explain why something sounded good. Lionel Richie doesn't know what not to do. And so he has no rules, no barriers. He hears something in his head. And I've said this a million times. Musical people find a way to make music. Paul McCartney's voice still to me is magical. Early John Lennon, when he sang, hey, you've got to hide your love away, I used to get chills from it. Or like if you listen to Ticket to Ride, like just the beat. How about Linkin Park? Da 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 da. I mean, they just took Ticket to Ride and created another great song on it. And so Lionel Richie falls into that category of many people. You are just born with this innate ability to know what works, what sounds good, what impacts people. And then he had the guts to get out there in front of people and the savvy to find people to work with to propel him to the top. There's a whole bunch of things that he did right. And so you got to look at that. Okay, have you ever followed the newer Wasp? I've got to say, I've met Blackie Lawless before. I knew the original guitar player, Chris. Stephen Riley worked with Tom Holland, the singer of the band Holland I was in. So I met Steve before too. I knew Wasp. Wasp was the first band I saw in California when I moved out there. I'll tell you that story afterwards. But to answer your question, I have not followed the new Wasp. I don't really listen to like those bands much. I never even did when they were big. I just knew their songs. That doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just I was more into the guitar thing in the 80s, I was listening to Yngwie and Tony McAlpine and Racer X, That was my thing and doing my thing. And I was signed to a major label in the mid-80s, and I didn't look back. So I was concentrating on a lot of my own music. I love Wasp, but the first band I saw in L.A. was Wasp. Now I'm going to set the scene. Okay, now I started a little later. I graduated college a year and a half later. I dropped out for 2 years to be in a band. But then I went back and I said, I've got to get my degree. I don't do anything halfway. I've got to finish this. And I always talk about finishing stuff. So I made up 2 years and a year and a half. Shortly after that, it was about 3 years, I I met a guy from the band Santana. He saw me play. Anyway, shortly after that, I moved to California, and I'm in my mid-20s, so I'm a little bit older, because back then Jim Gillette was 19 when we did our first album. But anyway, I go to California. Okay, that's about me. And I look like I should be selling insurance. I'm like, and I'm this kid. I walk into the Troubadour, the rock club that's still around. This place is, where John Lennon's played, Elton John. And I walk in. I've never been there before. I look like a kid that just walked, that had been sheltered my whole life. I completely looked non-rock. And I was still college looking. So I walk into this club, the Troubadour. It's packed with people, hot women, guys with long hair, makeup on, and the first band I see in LA, I see this guy walk out with hair down to here. The rest of the band's got super long hair. He's got two of the band members on dog leashes. This logo bursts into flames, and he's throwing raw meat into the crowd. I'm like, I ain't Kansas no more. Whoa. And all of a sudden, he gets up on stage. These guys looked. I was like, oh my God. I was in shock. It was Wasp. The very first band I saw in LA was Wasp. They blew my mind. Now, think about just a logo bursting into real flames. You can't do that now. Laws change and something happened. A club burned down and killed a lot of people. That could have happened there, but, it didn't. Nobody even thought about it. So the guy's throwing raw meat into the audience, like beef. I'm like, hey, you got a steak here? Dog leashes, the whole thing, and they're holding the guitars down to here, and I recognize Stephen Riley because he played in a band with a former singer of Howlin', a band called The Bees. But that was my introduction. But the cool thing was I didn't see my parents for about 6 months after that. And I came home. I had pierced ears. I had dyed my hair jet black. I had my first tattoo. My parents didn't recognize me. I started turning into one of those guys. I didn't even realize it because when you are who you hang out with. And the old saying, look at 5 of the closest people around you and it tells you a lot about yourself. Well, I was hanging out with the rockoids of the West. Everybody that I hung out with looked radical. They all looked like Motley Crue and Poison and this scene of the 80s. And I just morphed into that. I didn't even realize it. And that, I don't lie. I don't like to say honestly because it implies I lie. But that is the way it happens in life. It's like, you listen to some of the bands that have more than one singer. Usually the background singer starts to, they're not as good as the lead singer, but usually they start to take on the characteristics of the lead singer because they're around that person so much. Someone asked, is this? Okay, let's see. Let me read something. Okay, the metal scene in America, is it alive or dead? I think metal and rock is almost as big as it's ever been. Now, I'm not saying, it's mainstream music in many ways doesn't kind of exist anymore because we don't have top 40 radio like we did. Everything is kind of segregated in a way. You have Liquid Metal, you have Hair Nation, you have, the deep album tracks. But here's what Live Nation said recently. They said, that like a lot of pop stars, well, all pop stars, live and die by the song. Okay, if they don't have a hit song, they have a tough time. Now, a band like ABBA's got 1 million hit songs, and so they can tour, even though they're older now. But when you develop a discography like that, but a pop star usually does 2 things. One, they do radical image changes each album. Okay, and each song not song, but those songs from the records, and so it's not unheard of. Taylor Swift went from a country star to a pop star. If you look at the Katy Perry's, all these different pop singers, a lot of them, especially the women, they changed their look. And you know, they have different hairstyles, different hair colors, different looks for, that's part of the pop mentality. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's just the way it is. And they have to have that song. They need the song. If their song doesn't hit, it's hard for them to tour. But see, metal's totally different. Iron Maiden doesn't need that song on the radio. Neither does AC/DC. And what Live Nation said recently is that they can name a lot of bands that are selling these medium-level venues out. The 1,000 to 2,000 seats, the 2,000 to 5,000 seat venues, these are packed with metal fans because I think metal is alive and well in the United States, big time. Guitar's alive and well. More women play the guitar now than ever before, and they're really freaking good. You know, you can close your eyes and you hear some of these female shredders. You have no idea if they're a guy or a girl. And that's the way it should be. It's been like that on orchestra music forever. And so I think metal is alive and well, given my 20-minute explanation. But the proof is in, look at a band like Creed. You know, they're a certain type of metal. They are selling out arenas and stadiums right now. They are just killing it. Smashing Pumpkins, killing it. Five Finger Death Punch, killing it. Metallica, killing it. Manowar, we play arenas. And we were offered some pretty big tours here in the U.S. Joey DeMaio is the leader. He's brilliant. He always has a method to the madness. And I'm not saying there is any madness, but he always has a reason for what he does. The show in New York sold out so fast, and we are bringing the full production to show the United States and different promoters what Manowar is, and big time. And so, but anyway, so that's what I feel. It's alive and well. Someone said Eddie Van Halen or Randy Rhoads, do they matter anymore to this generation? Yes. Here's one thing I can say about the latest generation. I guess they would be called Gen Z. I think the most unrestricted form on the internet is music. When you think about it, you know, it's not political, it's not religious, not can be, okay? But generally speaking, music, if you want to learn the blues, you can watch videos of B.B. King, Albert King, Freddie King. You can watch Joe Bonamassa. I didn't have that luxury. If you want to watch gypsy jazz and learn about it, you can watch, even Django Reinhardt has videos. This is incredible. And so what the younger generation has done, and this is why they're so exponentially better technically than generations before them, is they use the resources that they had, specifically the internet. And because if you want to learn how to shred, see, I was one of the pioneers of people talking about how to pick. But see, before that, there were books, but you couldn't see. We can't see and hear how Mozart interpreted his own music, you know, but we can see and hear from about a little over 100 years ago. And so we're looking early 20th century, late 19th century, 1890s, maybe before, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen any videos that I can remember. But let's safely say early 20th century. So to answer that question, yes. I mean, look at how many young people are into metal. Even hair metal, it's huge. A lot of young girls, they love it. They like the way the guys look. They love the scene. They love the whole thing. It was feel-good music. And so, but why is that? We have the recordings and we have the visuals. And that's what this younger generation has embraced. And that's why they're so freaking good. And so, because it's one thing to talk about playing the blues scale, or like when I was 13, I wanted to be a blues guitarist. I would listen to Mike Bloomfield. I listened to B.B. King. I loved Johnny Winter. But I saw B.B. King in concert, but I never saw Johnny Winter. I never saw Mike Bloomfield. So I didn't really know how they picked. I didn't know what gear they used. You could read about it, but now you can just go online, type in the name, and boom, it comes right up. It's so incredible. It's really a great time to be in music. Let's see. And somebody wrote, yeah, Sue, you're right. Music transcends time and space, so all music will matter to all generations. Well, that I can't agree with 100%. I don't know if all music matters to all generations, because there are certain fads. where like a song is the flavor of the month, that we look back on it now like, yeah, I don't know. Or some stuff sounds cheesy, or some of the lyrics. I mean, I don't know if the youngest generation listens to Benny Goodman or John Sousa. I don't know, 76 trombones and the big parade, but it does but the rest of it, I agree with 1,000%. I think things are cyclical, but see, guitar is super popular. Drums are super popular. Singing is super popular. It's always going to be that way. But did you know that there was a time where instrumental music was more popular than vocal music around Beethoven's time? Just for a brief period, instrumental music was more popular. I love instrumental music, love vocal music too. But anyway, yeah, but I think songs are songs, and we have everything. We have the music and we have the image that's associated with that music. This is something that's only a recent development. This is a late 20th century, 21st century development. So in the scheme of things, it's a relatively new thing, but it changed the game. Anyway, I want to just say again, you guys have had great questions. I always take a long time to answer, but these are complex subjects, and this is my area of expertise. I'm a student of music and a student of life. I apply a lot of what I talk to you about in music to life, and I've talked to you guys about this before. But I want to say December 13th, Friday the 13th. Yes, that was my brother-in-law's lucky number. My nephew's coming out to see the show, his son, Alex, so it's really cool. I love him being there. He's a great kid. And he's had tough stuff happen to him. He's 20, he just turned 23. His mom died when he was 12. His dad dies at 22. He's got no grandparents. Aunts and uncles have died. So he's got basically 3 family members, close ones left. And then, like what gets like first cousin once removed. But, I have a really good family. I don't see a lot of them. I don't see pretty much anybody on my dad's side, but I'm very close to my mom's side, my first cousins and Alex. But anyway, so he's coming out to the show. The 13th of December, Friday night it's called The 3 Clubs in Hollywood. Just remember, 3 streets, Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard, Santa Monica, and there's this weird street called Fountain that I used to take as a shortcut to get to the Rainbow and all that stuff. But anyway, Hollywood, Sunset, Santa Monica, Vine. Okay, so it's on Santa Monica and Vine and Hollywood. Parking's good. Sawtooth has got a really amazing stage. I don't know if you know this, but Sawtooth Instruments sponsors the Whiskey A Go-Go backline, the Viper Room, and now this the 3 Clubs. And we work with KLOS, Bruce Dickinson. We have the bass player from Hollywood Vampires, Chris. There's a lot of artists that are coming to us to use the instruments because they're amazing, and I love them. I love the owners. I think they're fantastic people. Joe's a great drummer, and it's just something I really enjoy doing. But anyway, I just want to say this. Hopefully, you can come to the show. Sawtooth Musical Instruments, ChromaCast parts, and then you can see there's a post on this live stream where you can get all the information on, how to purchase things. And the holiday season's coming up. I will be in California after this first leg of the tour for couple weeks, doing a lot of live streams, doing demos of the equipment, and doing this really awesome show. And we have former Smashing Pumpkins guitarist Jeff Schroeder playing. He's really a great guy. He's and a really great guitar player. He understands textures, and he can shred, but he's so much more than just riffing out. And I like to think everybody I hang out with musically is like that, including me. Joey thinks so. Robert's ready to rip. But anyway, I just like to say this. I'm Angelo Batio for Sawtooth Musical Instruments. Hope to see you at the 3 Clubs, Friday, December 13th, Hollywood, California, Santa Monica and Vine. See ya.